The knock came, sharp and final, like a verdict. I never thought it would come to this, but when my landlord, Mr. Thorne, appeared at my door, I knew the last of my options had vanished. 3 months behind on rent, no family to call, no friend to beg from, just the 4 walls of an apartment I could no longer afford, and the chilling silence of my own desperation. And then he made me an offer, one that should have sent me slamming the door in his face, but I didn't. I was tired of fighting a losing battle. I flinched at the sound, my worn robe slipping open to expose a bare sliver of thigh. I was too exhausted to care about modesty. I opened the door to find Mr. Thorne there, his eyes dragging over me, slow and deliberate, missing no detail of my disheveled state. "You're 3 months behind, Lena." His voice was calm, a stark contrast to the frantic rhythm of my heart. I pulled the robe tighter, a feeble defense. "I know, Mr. Thorne, I need more time." He stepped inside without invitation, shutting the door behind him. The air in the small room thickened, growing heavy with unspoken intention. His gaze lingered on me, a mixture of pity and possession. "It's a shame to see a woman like you struggling," he murmured, his voice deceptively smooth. "So beautiful, yet so helpless." Heat, prickly with shame, crawled up my neck. "I'll figure something out," I whispered, the promise hollow even to my own ears. He sighed, shaking his head with a theatrical sadness. "Time doesn't pay the bills, sweetheart." I had tried everything. Double shifts at the cafe that left my hands raw, swallowing my pride to ask for loans from acquaintances who quickly became strangers, cutting back until my diet consisted of rice and regret. Nothing was ever enough. "Please," I whispered, the word tasting like ash. "Just a little longer." He studied me, a predator assessing the fatigue of its prey. "Or," he said, pausing to let the single word hang in the space between us, "maybe there's another way." My stomach tightened into a cold, hard knot. There it was, the unspoken thing now given form and weight. "What do you mean?" I asked, though I knew. I knew from the way he looked at me. "Come on, Lena, a smart woman like you. You know exactly what I mean." The room seemed to shrink, the walls pressing in. My thin robe felt like nothing at all. "No one has to know," he said, stepping closer. "Just between us." I hesitated, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. He smirked, a cruel, knowing curve of his lips as he watched me squirm. "I can make all your problems disappear." Just like that. I exhaled, a shaky, defeated sound. The fight had left me weeks ago. There were no choices left. No way out, just him. Slowly, against every screaming instinct, I nodded. His smile deepened, transforming his face into a mask of triumph. "Good girl." Then, his fingers reached for the silken belt of my robe. Mr. Thorne led me into the bedroom, his grip on my arm firm but unhurried, as if he had all the time in the world. The air felt thick, pressing against my skin as I stepped across the threshold. The scent of his aftershave, sharp and citrusy, mixed with something deeper, something uniquely and intimidatingly masculine, filled my senses. He wasted no time. Standing at the edge of my own bed, he undid his belt with a slow, deliberate motion. The soft clink of the metal buckle sent an involuntary shiver through me. "You know what to do, sweetheart." A lump formed in my throat, making it hard to breathe, let alone speak. I hesitated, my fingers tightening into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. His lips curved into something between amusement and absolute control. "Don't act so surprised. You agreed, remember?" Heat, a nervous and electric kind of warmth, curled low in my stomach. I swallowed hard. The sound loud in the quiet room, and then, with a surrender that felt both terrifying and inevitable, I lowered myself to my knees. His fingers threaded through my hair, not roughly, but with a possessiveness that made my breath catch. As I leaned in, feeling the heat of his body, overwhelmed by his scent, I pressed my lips against him, moving with a careful, learned rhythm I didn't know I possessed. He exhaled sharply, a hiss of pleasure, his fingers tightening slightly in my hair to guide me. The sounds he made, low, guttural groans, sent an unexpected, unwelcome thrill through me. I shouldn't have liked it. I shouldn't have felt this flicker of power. But I did. His breathing deepened, his posture tensing. He was getting lost in it, in me. A strange sense of control stirred deep inside me, a tiny flame in the overwhelming darkness of my submission. Just as I found my rhythm, just as that flame began to grow, he pulled away abruptly. His breathing was uneven, ragged. He was barely holding back. "Get on top," he commanded, his voice thick with a need that was no longer subtle. I obeyed, standing on trembling legs and moving onto the bed, my robe slipping open completely as I straddled him. His hands immediately found my thighs, sliding up my skin, squeezing as if he needed to feel every inch of me, to claim me. "That's it," he murmured, his eyes locked on mine, watching for any sign of resistance. I reached down, aligning myself with him. A sharp gasp escaped my lips as I sank onto him, and he groaned, his fingers pressing almost painfully into my hips. "You feel even better than I imagined," he breathed. I tried to ignore the traitorous warmth that spread through me at his words. This was just a transaction, a deal to keep a roof over my head. But as I started to move, a deep, undeniable pulse of pleasure rippled through me. My body, a betrayer, responded eagerly, craving more of this forbidden sensation. I bit my lip, hard, trying to keep my face a neutral mask, but inside, heat coiled, a slow burn spreading with every deliberate movement. "Go on, Lena, ride me like you mean it." His voice was strained, his grip firm as he guided my hips, setting a pace that was his, not mine. I did as he said, my own pace quickening, my breathing becoming uneven and shallow. Each motion sent another wave of sensation through me, making it harder and harder to pretend I was a dispassionate participant, that I wasn't actively, desperately enjoying this. He smirked up at me, his eyes dark with knowledge. "You like this, don't you?" he murmured, the question a challenge. "No," I lied, my breath hitching as I moved faster, my body taking over where my willpower had failed. His grip tightened, his own body rising to meet mine in a perfect, devastating rhythm. The tension built between us, growing deeper, heavier, a tangible force in the room. I clenched my jaw, desperate to hold back any sound, any moan that might betray the pleasure coiling tight within me. "Keep going," he growled, his own control beginning to slip. His eyes never left mine, drinking in every flicker of my expression, every unspoken confession. I dug my nails into the hard planes of his chest, holding on as the feeling built inside me, threatening to spill over. His breath hitched, his body tensing beneath me, and then with a final shuddering release, he exhaled, his hands locking me in place as he reached his peak. I followed seconds later, a silent, convulsing tremor racking my body from the sheer intensity of it. But I swallowed my moans, keeping my face an unreadable mask as I collapsed onto him, my body still humming with the aftershocks. For a long moment, we just lay there, our breathing heavy, skin damp and warm in the aftermath. Then, slowly, I moved off him, sitting at the edge of the bed. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The silence was its own confession. But deep down, I knew the undeniable truth. I'd enjoyed every second of it. And he knew it too. I sat there, pulling my robe around me, though the thin fabric did little to cover what had already been seen, what had already been claimed. My skin still tingled, my breath was still unsteady. I felt his eyes on me, watching, waiting. "You surprised me, Lena." His voice was smooth again, laced with amusement. "Didn't expect you to enjoy yourself that much." A familiar heat flickered in my stomach. I ignored it. "It was just a deal," I said, my voice low. I needed to believe it. He chuckled, a low, knowing sound. "Sure, if that's what you need to believe." The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. I should have felt a crushing wave of shame, but it didn't come. Not entirely. A part of me, a part I was terrified to acknowledge, had liked it more than I ever wanted to admit. "I have another proposition for you," he said, shattering the quiet. I glanced at him, wary. "What do you mean?" He leaned back against the headboard, his shirt still open, his expression unreadable. "You enjoyed this. I know you did. And there are men who would pay good money for a woman like you." I stiffened, the words feeling like a physical blow. "You're joking." He watched me closely, a hunter who had just laid a new, more intricate trap. "Not at all. You said you're out of options, but you don't have to be. You could turn this into something lucrative." My breath hitched. "That's different. This was just..." I stopped because I didn't have the words. "Just what?" His smirk deepened. "Just a favor? Just for fun?" I turned away from him, my mind racing, a torrent of fear, and a shocking, undeniable thread of excitement. I should have been disgusted. I should have been outraged. But I wasn't, because he was right. I had enjoyed it. The power, the sensation, the sheer loss of control. And now, the thought of doing it again, of being wanted so fiercely, of turning this desperate act into something I could command. It didn't seem impossible. It seemed inevitable. "It's your choice," he said, standing up and buttoning his shirt with infuriating calm. "You don't have to say yes, but if you do, I know 2 men who'd pay very well for a single night with you." A shiver, cold and sharp, ran down my spine. Not just 1 man, 2. The scale of it was terrifying. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. It should have been the easiest no of my life, but the word wouldn't form. "How much?" The question was out of my mouth before I could stop it. His smirk widened into a full, victorious grin. "More than you've ever made in one night. Enough to solve your immediate problems." I exhaled slowly, the air leaving my lungs in a rush. My pulse hammered in my ears, a frantic drumbeat sealing my fate. 1 night, 2 men, a choice that could either save me or shatter me completely. I lifted my chin, meeting his gaze, and gave a single, sharp nod. "All right." Mr. Thorne grinned, reaching for his phone with a satisfied gleam in his eye. "Good girl. I'll make the call." The next evening, I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing the black dress over my hips. It was tight, low-cut, just revealing enough to be a promise. Mr. Thorne had picked it out himself, along with a pair of heels that made my legs look longer, my stance more precarious. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted a stray strand of hair. Why was I nervous? I had already made my choice. There was no turning back now. "You look perfect," Mr. Thorne murmured from the doorway. His eyes roamed over me, slow and approving, like a curator examining a prized piece of art. "They'll love you." I swallowed hard, exhaling a shaky breath through my nose. "Who are they?" "Friends," he said, his smirk never fading. "Generous ones. You give them a good night, Lena, and you'll never have to worry about rent again." A knock at the door. My breath caught in my throat. They were here. Mr. Thorne's smirk deepened, his eyes glinting with predatory satisfaction. "Showtime, sweetheart." He turned toward the door. My heart pounded a violent rhythm against my ribs as I watched him reach for the handle. The lock clicked. The door swung open. 2 men stood there, their eyes dark, their expressions unreadable. And they were here for me. I led them into the room, my pulse a frantic drum in my ears with every step. The air itself felt charged, heavy with an unspoken potent energy. They followed closely, their presence enveloping me. 2 sets of eyes, their attention fixed solely on my every move. I had agreed to this. A part of me, a part I was only beginning to understand, wanted this. But still, a tremor of hesitation twisted inside me, a spark of fear igniting into excitement. The taller one, Gabe, was broad-shouldered and moved with a quiet, confident grace. He was the first to reach for me. His touch landed at my waist, firm and deliberate, his fingertips pressing lightly as if committing the curve of my hip to memory. The other, Marcus, was leaner, with sharper eyes that missed nothing. He lingered just behind me, his breath a warm whisper against the back of my shoulder, sending an unexpected, delicious ripple down my spine. "Let's take care of this," Gabe murmured, his fingers brushing over the thin strap of my dress, teasing the fabric as his gaze held mine. Slowly, layers slipped away, fabric pooling at my feet with a soft sigh. Their hands followed, exploring, learning, appreciating every newly revealed inch as the cool air kissed my skin. I reached for them in turn, my fingertips tracing the firm lines beneath their clothes, my touch testing, questioning. Their eyes never left me, watching, waiting for my lead. A slow exhale left my lips. There was no hesitation left in me. I wanted to give them exactly what they were waiting for. I moved with careful intention, my fingers working the buckles of their belts, undoing each one at a measured, deliberate pace. I could feel the tension coiled beneath the layers, a live wire of anticipation humming between us. Their breathing deepened, muscles shifting as I explored, warmth radiating against my palms. A quiet, deep sound of appreciation escaped Gabe as he tilted my chin upward, his gaze meeting mine with something intense and unreadable. Just like that, he murmured, his voice smooth but edged with a dark, thrilling promise. A familiar heat crawled through me. There was something both exhilarating and dangerous in the way they watched me, a shared hunger I was now feeding. My movements were deliberate as I lowered myself, my hands still wrapped around them, their heat a brand against my skin. One hovered near my lips, a silent, demanding invitation, waiting for my decision. I leaned in, welcoming him, tasting the salt and heat of his skin, tracing the shape of him with deliberate, worshipful care. Above me, he inhaled sharply, his fingers weaving through my hair, guiding me with the lightest, most intoxicating touch. Marcus was not forgotten. My other hand worked him with just as much attention, teasing, drawing out each hitched breath and soft groan. His fingers brushed the curve of my jaw as he studied me, completely absorbed in every movement, every sigh. Their combined presence, the quiet, raw sounds they made, the tension winding tight in the room, it all sent a slow, deep warmth spreading through the very core of me. "That's it," one of them murmured, his voice thick with satisfaction. The words sent another rush of power through my veins. They let me move at my own pace, letting me explore, letting me lose myself in the sensation of them. Then, Gabe shifted back slightly, clearing his throat as though regaining his focus. "Come here," he said, his voice low and steady. "We're just getting started." I settled onto the mattress, my breath uneven, my body thrumming with a heady mix of anticipation and raw need. Gabe positioned himself between my legs, his fingertips drawing slow, deliberate circles along my inner thighs, teasing, heightening the tension to an almost unbearable degree. Marcus moved beside me, his hand finding my chin, tilting my face toward him. His gaze locked onto mine with a quiet, fierce intensity. "Let's see just how sweet you are," Gabe murmured, his voice deep and laced with dark amusement. Then he lowered himself, his breath a warm warning against my skin before the first flicker of his tongue sent a shuddering gasp tearing from my throat. His touch was slow, patient, devastatingly deliberate. My fingers curled into the sheets, gripping them as each movement sent another ripple of pure, undiluted pleasure through me. Marcus leaned in, his mouth brushing against mine before deepening the kiss, his lips parting, demanding a response. I welcomed him, letting the warmth of his kiss consume me, muffling the helpless sounds escaping my throat as pleasure built into a rising wave between us. They moved in perfect predatory rhythm, one unraveling me with his mouth, the other drawing me deeper into a kiss that stole my breath. His fingers threaded through my hair, keeping me anchored to the sensation. They moved me effortlessly, guiding me, shifting me onto my hands and knees as if they already knew exactly what I needed. Now I was exposed, my body still trembling, still buzzing from their touch. Marcus, the one who had been watching, waiting with infinite patience, moved behind me, his hand steady on my waist, grounding me. "You ready for more?" he asked, his voice low and knowing. I barely had time to nod before he pressed forward, a slow, measured pressure that sent a deep, unrelenting warmth spiraling through me. My breath hitched, my fingers tightening in the sheets as my body stretched to accommodate him. He groaned softly, his grip securing me in place, his movement steady and deep, as if savoring every single second. Gabe moved in front of me, his fingers skimming my jaw, coaxing my gaze upward. "Let me feel you," he murmured. I parted my lips, welcoming him, the heat of him against my mouth, the steady rhythm of his breath mixing with mine. "Just like that," he whispered, his thumb brushing along my cheek. They moved together, a perfectly synchronized force, one keeping my body steady with deep driving thrusts, the other keeping my focus locked on him, lost in his kiss. A quiet moan escaped me, the vibrations making Gabe inhale sharply, his fingers flexing against my skin. Behind me, Marcus shifted, his pace becoming more fluid, more demanding, drawing another sharp gasp from me. The warmth pulled deep within my core, coiling tighter and tighter. "You love this, don't you?" one of them murmured, his voice teasing and knowing. I whimpered in response, my body arching, the truth evident in every movement, every sound. I did. I loved every second of it. They weren't finished. They moved me again, lifting me, shifting me seamlessly until I was astride Gabe. His hands were firm on my hips, holding me steady. His gaze met mine, a flicker of primal satisfaction in his eyes. "Let me see how much you want this," he murmured, his grip tightening. A slow breath escaped my lips as I sank onto him, a deep, fulfilling warmth building inside me. His head fell back against the pillows, a quiet groan slipping from his lips as I began to move. But Marcus wasn't done. I felt his touch first, teasing, testing at my back, waiting for my reaction. A sharp breath left me, anticipation curling hot in my stomach. He leaned forward, his breath hot against my ear. "Take your time," he murmured. "I'll guide you through it." I exhaled, my body tensing, then adjusting, a slow, gradual acceptance that bloomed into a shocking, full-bodied ecstasy as he pressed forward. The heat between us intensified, the moment stretching, our bodies sinking into a perfect, overwhelming rhythm. "That's it," one of them groaned. I wasn't sure who spoke. I was too lost in it, too overwhelmed by the way they moved with me, their touch, their breath, their bodies keeping pace with mine in a devastating symphony. The pressure built, spreading through me in relentless waves, my breath coming in ragged gasps as the sensation coiled to its absolute peak, and then it shattered. A final deep pull unraveled me completely, warmth crashing through my body in blinding waves. A sharp inhale from beneath me, his fingers pressing into my skin, his body tensing as his rhythm faltered. A low groan behind me, his grip steadying me as he let go, following right after. The moment stretched, breathless and infinite, before slowly fading into a warm, spent stillness. The room settled into a hushed silence, the only sound the slowing synchronized rise and fall of our breaths. In the end, I never expected to enjoy it. I never expected the shame to be so absent, replaced by a thrilling, terrifying awareness. I never expected to want more. But now, in the quiet, I can't stop thinking about the power, the sensation, the freedom. So tell me, was I wrong to let go? Or was this exactly what my soul needed to finally feel alive? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're drawn to stories of desire, power, and the choices that define us, don't forget to follow for more. Until next time.